Hi, I'm Leo.
And I'm Dom.
And in this presentation, we will be analyzing who's truly responsible for all the deaths and consequences in William Shakespeare's Macbeth. While some people believe Macbeth is to blame for everything that had happened because he makes the final decisions, the real cause of this tragedy is the witches. From the very beginning, the witches plant a dangerous idea in Macbeth's mind, like a seed. They don't just predict the future, they kind of twist it, using riddles and half-truths to lead him down a dark path of ambition, fear, and murder.
In this video, we'll explain how the witches manipulate Macbeth, fuel his downfall, and ultimately cause the chaos and death in the play. Let's begin with their first prophecy, the spark that changes everything.
Who is to blame? The witches are the ones to blame for the rampage that Macbeth inflicts on his friend en route to becoming king, and here's why. On the bottom here, in Macbeth, the witches are the primary forces responsible for the murder and the chaos in the book, as witches manipulate Macbeth through prophecies that ignite his ambition and lead him down a dark path from which, as Lady Macbeth warns him with, what's done cannot be undone. There is no return. So our first reason is the prophecy the witch gave Macbeth, that becoming king. The witches gave Macbeth the idea of becoming king, something he had never thought about.
This quote, "All hail Macbeth, hail to thee, Thane of Glamis, hail to thee, Thane of Cawdor, hail to thee that shalt be king hereafter," comes from Act 1, Scene 3. It's the very first time Macbeth hears the idea of becoming king. Up to this point, he is a loyal warrior, but this prophecy plants a seed in his mind, the idea of power, ambition, and the throne.
To the right here is the essay from Brotzowicz. He is explaining that in Act 1, Scene 3, the witches are responsible for planting an idea in Macbeth's head. This shows that the witches don't just tell the future, they make one for him, and their words trigger a major shift in Macbeth's loyalty and morality. This prophecy makes him start thinking about the things he would never have considered on his own, like killing Duncan. The witches didn't give him a direct order, but they carefully designed their message to awaken his ambition. And that's why the source from author.com says that the witches are responsible for what happened, because they sparked the very thoughts that led to murder and chaos.
Reason 2, manipulation. The witches' words, while seemingly truthful, are deceptive and designed to lead Macbeth down a path of destruction. They use half-truths and riddles while Macbeth interprets to his advantage, further fueling his descent into darkness. Macbeth is led down the wrong path by the witches, and it eventually ends in his death.
The quote on the top left, "None of women born should harm Macbeth." This quote is technically true, but it's meant to deceive Macbeth into thinking he's invincible. But he interprets it as literally and becomes overconfident, which leads to his downfall. And to the right here, the psychological manipulation. This quote was from author.com. The witches influenced Macbeth on the subject of Lady Macbeth's character and his own fate. The witches only speak in truth, which serves to make Macbeth's downfall more poignant by presenting the possibilities that the witches harmed Macbeth, not only tempted him and showed him the path. So here the author is saying that the witches influenced Macbeth's understanding of himself, Lady Macbeth, and his destiny. The witches showed him possibilities of becoming king, and they guide his actions, making them a central cause of Duncan's murder and subsequent tragedy.
Fueling Macbeth's fear and hubris is reason number 3. The witches also play a role in Macbeth's hubris and fear. The prophecies that he has nothing to fear from anyone born from a woman led him to believe at the same time led him to believe he is invincible. At the same time, the prediction that Banquo's descendants will rule further motivates him to act against Banquo, ending his life.
The quote on the top left, top right, "Macbeth should never vanquish be until great Birman Wood to high Dunsin Hill should come against him." So in this, they're talking about how the witches tell Macbeth he won't be defeated until Verminwood moves to Dunstan. And then Macbeth takes this prophecy literally and believing that he's invincible once again. The line gives him a false sense of security and overconfidence, and this blinds him to danger and makes him ignore real threats. And this leads him to act recklessly in helping seal his fate.
If not the witches, then who else? Some think that Macbeth himself is to blame. After all, he is the one who committed the heinous crimes. The claim doesn't hold up though, because the witches are the ones who planted these motivations that drove him to commit these crimes in his head. Others say Lady Macbeth was the one who drove him to kill Duncan. However, without the witch's prophecy, she wouldn't have even known that Macbeth was to become king, which would have then caused her not to suggest the killing of the king. This shows that the witches are the ones who are to blame.
This quote by Lee, Macbeth's ambition inspires most of his actions, and that results in his death of numerous characters and the ultimate downfall of both himself and Lady Macbeth. Is stating that Macbeth's ambition in his tragic flaw, arguing that he is primarily responsible for his own downfall. She noted that while prophecies and Lady Macbeth interact with this ambition, the choices are his. To the right, without the witch's influence, Macbeth never would have thought about killing Duncan or becoming king. The witches planted the idea of power in Macbeth's mind. So Brodsowicz emphasized that the witches are the true instigators, planting the seed and igniting Macbeth's ambition. So without their manipulative prophecies, Macbeth would have remained loyal and honorable. In this presentation, we argue that the witches are the ones to blame. It's true that Macbeth makes his own choices. Those choices only happen because of the witches' manipulation. They are the ones who introduced the idea of power by calling him king hereafter in the beginning of the book. It's like planting like a dangerous seed in his mind. The witches then they have to start to save Macbeth through riddles, half lies, half truths. They never tell him to commit murder, but they used their words to push him into that direction, knowing exactly how he would end up, react. Each time Macbeth meets them, he takes another steps towards the evil side. First with Duncan, then with Banquo, then finally Macduff's family. We had three main reasons why the witches are to blame. First, they spark Macbeth's ambition by giving him the prophecy. Second, they manipulate him with false hope. They twisted the language and push him deeper into fear. And third, they fed his ego, causing him to act recklessly. He died of his recklessness. We also talked about the opposing side, that many people say that Macbeth is the one to blame for his own downfall, but sources like author Brodsowicz and author.com supported the idea that Macbeth would never have gone down this path without the witch's influence. The witches started the fire by giving him the prophecy, then how the witches manipulate him, fed his ego. That's adding fuel to the fire. Then, as Lady Macbeth says later in the play, what's done cannot be undone. This line is talking about how Macbeth has fallen really deep and how irreversible the witches' damages, and they, in the end, Macbeth is the witch's victim, is their victim. The true force is the witches that cause all the destruction. Thank you.